That's pretty cool.
This was a big deal for me.
This is huge.
Like losing and then having my voice taken away, I think was just huge.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think
I think the what's next conversation, like we have a full primary. There are, 7 people that have been running for over a year.
Yeah.
There's 2 people that just got in. Okay. But like most of the people in this race are going to lose. Only one is going to win.
Yeah, only one.
What's next for people, right?
Yeah. And so you've been talking about like what's next in your head and you don't know. And I didn't know. It took me a while to get off the sofa and say, okay, I'm not done yet. I'm going to dust myself off and I'm going to go in on this.
Right.
And that's how we got this. Because I also learned not everybody has to lead, right? Like people need a support network behind them. People need access to get their word out. And that's where I said, well, I have a background in this. This is what I do. And that's why we did this, for whatever next is for you or anybody else, who knows? But I'm still, until September 8th, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that sits here, you're winning it. So
fair game.
Yeah. I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I would like to know, to start us off though, like, because you're at a federal level, it's different than being local and just knowing everybody in one community and knocking on the doors and saying hi. I want to know, like, from you, do you have anything like that peaks the top of like, that was wild on the, like, good or bad? Do you have any like crazy experiences at all?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I've had crazy good experiences.
That's okay.
That I did not expect. I laugh about this because my husband and I orchestrated our entire wedding. And there were so many things that happened that were unplanned that have become the best memories.
Yeah.
Right. And so on the campaign trail, there are a few key moments that will stick with me forever. One was my grandmother, who's now 97, is a Holocaust survivor. She's one of 800 or so people that survived the Łódź or Lodz ghetto in Nazi-occupied Poland. Was literally forced to dig her own grave under Nazi order. It's a place that we visit when we go to Poland and take the kids so that they understand how real this is.
Yeah.
When she came to this country, it was after they had escaped communist rule and Soviet liberation, which was out of the frying pan into the fire for my family. They went to Bolivia. And then my grandmother came as a handful of students to MIT, a handful of women to MIT.
Okay.
She went on to get a doctorate in organic chemistry and teach at Framingham State College for the entirety of her career, inspiring many young scientists, medical professionals, all of that. She also fought for equal pay for state college professors, for women to have equal pay, because that was not a thing yet. And so she's been a huge inspiration of mine. And what I didn't realize, because it was always just part of our family, right? Our history, our story was just part of our family. I didn't realize that it was something unique or different in terms of my understanding of the fragility of freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very real for me. So having conversations with my grandmother throughout this campaign, it came up that when she came to this country, nobody wanted to hear about the Holocaust. Nobody wanted to hear about what happened. And oftentimes they didn't actually believe it. And so she didn't think that she had a story to offer or share, or that her voice mattered. And when we've seen ICE behaving in the way that it has behaved, which is pretty horrific, to put it lightly.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Yes.
I walked in and I was talking to my grandmother about this because though she's physically failing, cognizant, like she's incredibly sharp. She's just brilliant and incredibly sharp. And she looked at me, Adam, and she said, Sarah, I've had enough Gestapo in my life.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you want to do about it? She said, I don't know. What can I do about it? You tell me, what can I do about it? I said, well, Mimi, I call her Mimi.
Yeah.
You've inspired me my entire life. You have a lot to offer. And she said, nobody wants to hear my story. Nobody wants to hear from me.
That's crazy.
Okay?
Yeah.
And like, as someone who loves this woman with my whole being, who has inspired me to get through some of the most difficult things in my life, when I sit here and think, okay, she got through this, I can handle this.
Yeah.
I can, whatever it is, put it in perspective, right? My grandmother, she was 96 at the time, went to Concord, New Hampshire, and spoke out at a rally in front of hundreds of people against what ICE is doing in our communities. As a Holocaust survivor, as someone who believes in humanity, as someone who stands by never again, meaning never again, across the board, as someone who believes she didn't have anything to offer, that her voice didn't matter.
Yeah.
And Adam, there were hundreds of people chanting Mimi.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
That was...
A lot of people might watch this and say ICE and the Gestapo, they're two different things. I read, it's almost like the country, part of the country has something very different in mind, where they're just doing their job. They're just getting illegal aliens out of the country. But it's not true. They're deporting citizens. They're hurting people. They're killing American citizens. This is actually a fair comparison.
So I'll push on that a little bit, right?
Sure.
And I think it's valid to say they are not the same. But I think there are tactics that are the same.
Yeah.
And so what I've pushed for is not only the dismantling and figuring out immigration reform, funding our immigration court systems. If we had put $170 billion into our immigration courts, into social work at the border, into actually creating a system of immigration that's fully functional.
Yeah.
We'd be in such a great position. But now what we're seeing is the behavior of intimidation and fear and taking away people's basic rights that are protected in our Constitution. And no, I don't want dangerous people on our streets.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
We can all agree on this.
Yes.
Right?
It's how we treat each other, though.
It's how we treat each other, and it's the process in which this takes place.
Right.
And so I've put forth a push for legislation that outlaws specifically, because Congress can put laws in place, they can also outlaw certain things and behaviors and ways of doing things. And we need to put legislation in place that outlaws Gestapo-style tactics, because a lot of people are like, abolish ICE, dismantle ICE, all of this. Great, fine. Yeah. We can have bigger conversations about that.
Yep.
But then they can just form another group.
Yeah,
another department that does the same thing and behaves the same way, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. This is just one area that we're going to need a lot of work done, right? I could see some constitutional amendments. I could see a lot of heavy acts being passed over the next few years. There's so much we have to do, but ICE should never happen again in America in the future. I know we can't stop it right now until we get majorities in there and we start impeaching and we start doing a lot of stuff, which I have a feeling this is going to go very heavily into that. But I don't want to lose the picture of your grandma and the influence that she's had on you.
Yeah.
If she helped put you into this race, good on her. 97 is such a good life.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible. I saw her just the other day. I said, hey, you're still here. She said, I'm still here. Wow. I said, you might make it to the primary. She said, I might.
Oh, I really hope that she does.
I mean, she's amazing. And yeah, Adam, she's absolutely a key part of this. So a lot of people have been like, Sarah, you don't hold political office. You're a teacher. You're a community organizer. Why are you in this? Why did you jump into this? Right?
Yeah.
This was never. I joke with my husband. This was never in the marriage contract. Love him. Good
this
guy,
is really hard on a marriage.
15 months into this race.
Yes.
We're still in it. He's transitioned his employment from full-time timber framing to full-time in the fire department. A lot happens, right? We're still a family of 5 with life happening outside the campaign, right? And so I got into this because of my work, which we can talk about more.
Yeah.
That was pro bono, jumping in to do what I felt was the right thing and use my voice and help others use their voices for good, capital G, and for change, right? And I had been down in DC having a conversation with someone from our intelligence community. And I said, give it to me straight. Where are we? And he said, Sarah, everything that we thought was going to happen in 6 to 8 months, cut it in half. 3 to 4 months. This administration is not stopping at anything. And this was early last year, February, March of last year. And this is, we're seeing USAID wiped. Departments within the State Department, desks, gone. Decades of work.
Like 300,000 federal employees just gone.
Gone. And it's not just that, Adam, right?
Yeah.
Like that's decades of public service. These are public servants. These are not political players. These are people that have dedicated their lives to the fight for freedom and democracy, right?
The amount of brain drain alone.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying is I can't even it's huge.
Yeah, we can talk about the fact that we've just lost one of the best potential future Joint Chief of Staff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount of generals that they dismissed that would have helped them at least figure this out, right?
Right.
Like it's these are people in positions because of their experience. We need these people to say just nonchalantly, you don't agree with me, get out, is bananas. Some of these generals are 40 years in.
I know. These are service members.
Yes, they spend their whole life practicing the profession of arms. They are at the top of their game. And Hegseth just came through and just railroaded so many of those out. Mm-hmm. That is so many leaders gone that America, there's just a giant gap.
Huge.
A giant gap.
Huge. Let's come back to Hegseth because I think this is a key point in terms of national security, where we are, the foundations of democracy, our country, where we're going. But I came home from that trip where I had that very clear reality, and this individual gave me that direct truth. And I, as a teacher, I know I am not a specialist in everything, right? There are things that I know I can do. And then I reach to people within the community that have a knowledge base and expertise to inform how I move forward, right? And the decisions I make and the things that I push.
Yeah.
And I said to this individual, okay, how am I able to help the most in this moment? What can I do? And he looked at me and said, you have an open congressional seat in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Get your butt into Congress. And I went,
Yeah. And
I had to sit with that, Adam, because this was never on the to-do list.
Yeah, that's a big decision.
It's a big decision. I'm not a millionaire. We're not independently wealthy.
Yep.
We're a working class family. My husband and I both graduated high school as EMTs. We've always been of service and in service to our communities. That's something we live by. It's something that bonds us in our marriage of being participating members in our community, our sense of duty to not only the place where we live, but our country and what it stands for.
I think that's a big piece. A lot of people don't know what it takes to be selfless like that, right? To provide service at the cost of you not being wealthy. You never being on the red carpet somewhere in Hollywood, right? I'm not saying everybody would achieve those things, but you certainly knock them out by becoming an EMT or a firefighter. There's just things you don't go and do.
Right.
I've heard your story before, and it is moving because of what you and your husband do. Be able to save people, to me, has to be one of the most intense moments a person can probably live. As an EMT, as a firefighter, and now, potentially going to Washington and helping people live, in a different way.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to ask you.
Well, but there's a couple different things to that, Adam, and we can talk about it all, right?
I know.
But the decision to run for Congress was so incredibly clear because I came home from that trip and I stopped to see my grandmother. Even for 20 minutes, I would stop, I would have tea with her just to, have that time. And I was talking to her about what was happening.
Yeah.
And my concerns with, the guardrails of our freedom and democracy being completely blown through and Congress not standing its ground. Congress is our line of defense, the people's line of defense.
Yeah.
To the executive, to the administration. That is Congress's job. Right. And so I came home, I was talking to her about this, and I have to take a breath before I say this,
Please.
because otherwise I cry. But she looked at me, Adam, and she said, Sarah, I can't believe I'm going to die under this administration.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm going to die with our country going the direction it's going. This is my grandmother who survived a Nazi ghetto, who was forced to dig her own grave, who survived by a mere matter of 24 hours. And that was it, Adam. I looked at her and said, all right, Mimi, I'm doing it. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm running for Congress. She said, great, I'll be your first $2,000 donor. And that was it. And I have no disillusionment about the hill we have to climb here, but I can't know that I can do something in our country's greatest time of need and turn my back and sit on the sidelines. It just doesn't work for me. It's not who I am as a person.
Which I think speaks volumes to what you're doing in so many different ways. I want to get to the Ukraine stuff for sure.
We can talk about saving people in service.
Saving people in service. I mean, when I first started going through your profile months ago, and when I started looking at the CD-01 candidates and stuff, yours was interesting because of where you're from, like what you do, why you're in the race. But, what you do down in Washington, D.C., to me is really powerful. But when you get into the race, where do you start? How do you get your team? I'm just curious. How did you build your team?
So I started talking about the fact that I was looking into doing this before even announcing, calling people, talking to people within the political community. I had been very much behind the scenes. I was the face of C3s, nonprofits, a teacher. I had to be very nonpartisan, if you will, because I was focused on the mission of those C3s. That was incredibly important. And we got to a point in this country where I could no longer focus on those missions without actually directly tackling what I'm seeing as a systemic collapse. And it's not Democrat or Republican. It's about our freedoms. It's about the foundation of our democracy. It's about the rules of the road. That's why I have Adam Kinzinger's endorsement as well as Tom Malinowski's, because they know I'm principled and they know I can do the job, right? So one of the things that I've learned, my husband was in Afghanistan for 17 months as a contractor, not in the service, as a linguist with NATO and allied forces. And I've worked very closely with folks that have been in the service. And so I have some perspective on this, right? In places that the U.S. has gone into, we have this mentality globally that, well, we know better.
That's true.
And it's gotten us into trouble.
Yes.
In a very real, heartbreaking, and difficult to talk about way. And so when I got into this race, it wasn't, hey, I think you should think I'm the best candidate. It was, hey, do you want to support a candidate like me? Is that something that the community is interested in? I got curious. And in having those conversations, Adam, I've built a 90% volunteer team.
That's impressive.
And they're still here.
I've met part of your team, so yeah.
And they're still here. 15 months in, I look at them and I say, you're not sick of me yet? And they say, absolutely not. We have the most incredible, truly grassroots, not AstroTurf team. We have spent under $100,000 in the last 15 months, which is a drop compared to what my other primary contenders are spending, generally speaking.
Yeah,
right?
no, half the field's spending a lot of money.
Yeah, at least $500,000, if not $2 million. And we can talk about that too. So when I got into this, it was about being out with the people. So like the DC consultants come in and they say, or any campaign consultant comes in and they say, listen, this is what you're going to do, right? You're going to get in, you're going to announce, it's going to be a press event, and then you're going to be on the phones for, 5, 6, 8 hours a day, and you're going to be dialing for dollars. That's what you're going to do. And I said, no, I'm not. That's not how I believe we should be doing campaigns and elections.
Yeah.
And it may not be a winning strategy in this particular time, but I'm going to lead in the way that I think is the right way and the appropriate way, the ethical way, the morally sound way. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get on the phones and ask people for money. I'm going to be out in the community.
Which is very important. I mean, that's who's going to vote for you, right? I mean, you got to show up.
Yep. And it's also what I love. I love being out with people. I love working with people. I love hearing what's going on for them and then trying to find a solution. I love empowering people to speak up and be part of this, you know? And so that's how we got in. That's how we built the team that we have. And I'm lucky to be supported not only here on the ground at home, but by, 30 plus people behind the scenes that are nationwide that provide their skills and their expertise, as volunteers because they believe in the mission.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
absolutely. Speaking of like people being on your team and how they get there, win or lose, you're going to be essentially a leader in New Hampshire because your name is known. You're coming off of this. A lot of people are going to be familiar with you. People are still talking about who ran in 24 and 22 and even back before
2018.
Then. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I want to talk about what we originally talked about when you first showed up off camera about the bench.
Let's talk about it.
The bench is something I've been hollering about for like the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I've been writing it all over because people are complaining. What stems this particular one for me was the Cindy Warmington episode. And, whether you like her or not, it's irrelevant.
She's our candidate right now.
She's our candidate.
She's our candidate.
And as a side note, after spending a fair amount of time with her, she's always been pleasant. I think that she is just fine as far as
she's a lovely human.
But the people that said, is this all we can get? Yeah, it is. Because we have no bench in New Hampshire. Right. And that's not a negative to Cindy because as far as I'm concerned, her and Kelly Ayotte, there's over 1.4 million people in New Hampshire. That position pays $163,000 as governor. And they are the only two that had the balls, right? Excuse the expression, right?
That's right.
They are the only two people that had the balls to get on the ballot and say, I'm going to do this. So anyway, I say that because we have no bench and people are complaining.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I find so interesting. So like couple of perspectives and then, there's lots for us to go back to in terms of like,
yes,
being of service, saving lives, how that ties into my work for Ukraine, DC, Pete Hegseth, and putting our service members' lives at risk and my issue with that. He needs to be impeached. But
fully
coming back to New Hampshire and the bench here and politics, like politics is sticky, Adam.
Yes.
It's really sticky. And a lot of people are afraid to even touch it. Everyday people that aren't the 1% of those of us who are hyper engaged in politics. Like, can we have a real honest conversation about this? So as a background in education, a lot of my work was about creating access points in curriculum for varied learners. And I think about that a lot in politics. How are we creating access for young families like mine? I have a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old, right? We operate on a tight budget. We're not millionaires. We're paycheck to paycheck. We're a working class family. It is above and beyond our comfort to do this, to be engaged. Honestly, that's real.
Yeah, there's
right?
a cost to it.
There's a cost to it. And I'm in it. I'm in it for the fight because I'm stubborn as all get out and I'm determined. And when I commit to something that I believe in for good, that fuels me. That's my fire, right?
Feel that.
But here in New Hampshire, we have a huge opportunity to be leaders in how we want to change politics going forward for the next 250 years plus.
Yeah.
Right. And what we haven't done is had those difficult conversations, excuse me, about what is our vision?
Yeah.
I'm on a Democratic ticket, so I'm going to talk about the Democratic Party, okay, because that's what I'm representing. I've chosen to get on a Democratic ticket. My husband is an independent, a staunch independent, and that is 40% of CD-01.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes New Hampshire, New Hampshire.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Right? I am someone who is an independent thinker. right? And doesn't just do something because, oh, that's the way it's been done or that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to how most people are running in this campaign, doing the things, the yard signs, the paid media, like all the things that are the typical way of doing a campaign, right?
Yeah.
And it's similar to how we haven't actually grown a bench of people that have cohesion, that have had the difficult conversations of what is it that we're fighting for?
Right.
Not just what are we standing against? What are we fighting for? What is it? And for me, and why I'm still in this race 15 months in, with the polls where they are, yes, 47% undecided, right?
Yeah.
But none of the quote unquote underdogs, however you want to label us, have moved an inch in those polls. Okay? I'm still here because I believe middle class, working class, regular, everyday folks need a seat at the table. The Democratic Party has lost working class folks.
Yes.
And that's it. I am one of the few non-millionaires in the race, the only one who has taught in New Hampshire schools, the only one whose husband saves lives in the district. Like, this is very close to our hearts.
Yeah.
Right? And we have a lot at stake, not just in this midterm. Like, that's really short-sighted, honestly, Adam. Like, like we're sitting here playing checkers. We need to be playing chess. What about 2028? What about 2030? What's our 10-year plan?
Oh, I'm all about this.
Where are we going?
Yeah. And, here in New Hampshire, from the state party down, as far as I'm aware, they have committees that look for candidates and stuff. But what you just said is powerful because we shouldn't be looking for candidates for 26 in 26. The 26 candidates should have been known really back in either like 22 or 24. Mm-hmm. And there's just not a mechanism here in this state, even at the county level, the state level, or even lower, that builds that bench. And it's so... what's the word? It's such a disservice to all of us because
it's a good word for it.
We deserve good representation and planned representation. I mean,
coordinated.
Sure.
Coordinate. Like you can always have a candidate that comes in
Oh, absolutely.
that you didn't see or didn't know was operating behind the scenes and think, oh my gosh, this is an incredible candidate. This should be someone that is able to be the voice and true representation of the people, right? Oh. But there's no coordinated foundation of that. There have been multiple tries.
Yeah, it's just there's no excuse to show up empty-handed and saying, hey, we're starting from zero again. Here we go. Everybody go out and look for a candidate. That's just a tough spot to be in, especially when you have a race like this. Yeah. Chris Pappas just vacated his seat, essentially, and that's a vacuum. So, of course, everybody wants in, but they all decided 15 months ago. But, even aside from that, before I lose this thought, you've had 15 months to put your vision out, your thoughts out. That's powerful. Most people won't have that. Because you also have people to carry your message for you across social media, in person, and all that. So again, win, lose, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but like in this particular case,
there's
just getting that message out.
That's right.
It is a win.
That is a win. I have said to everybody, there's been a lot of conversation about consolidating and, listen, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. It's like, well, if we don't consolidate, Shaheen or Sullivan's going to win and we should, oh my gosh, we got to stand against this. Again, what are we standing for? Not what are we against?
Yeah.
Right? And so when I'm looking at this, I am so incredibly proud of the campaign that we have run.
I think you should be.
I am. I am so incredibly proud of my team.
Yes.
I am so incredibly proud of the line of integrity that we have kept, of the unwavering to our platform and what we are committed to in terms of a longer and broader movement. And so when people are talking about coalescing, that's a conversation that should have happened 15 months ago. That's what you're talking about in terms of building a bench, right? Because now you have multiple candidates from different backgrounds with different expertise in different ways, with different policy positions on things, right? There are candidates in this race that I can't back because of their policy positions. Will I support them if they are the nominee for the seat? 100% because we have to hold the seat. This is bigger. Is that what I want to push as a message in a primary, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on this. So
the primary is where we get to have that voice. The primary is where we get to shape what we want for the party moving forward.
I know what the progressives are scared of, and I know why the coalescing thing is a conversation. And I understand. I respect their point. They're saying, hey, we have somebody with huge name recognition that's supposedly running away with it. This is nepotism. Listen, I don't say this on the podcast very often, but I'll be very clear. I do not support a Shaheen or a Sullivan run. And I know that might be, like, how dare I step out?
You're allowed to say what your thoughts are. That's what we're fighting for this, Adam. We're fighting for you to be able to have that choice.
This is why I feel this way, right? And this is why neither one of them have been on the episode. I think they're probably great people. There's nothing wrong with it. It's policy and policy only for me. When you come out and you say everybody should get Medicaid for all or Medicare for all, for those who want it, that's a caveat. That's a slow roll. That's just that alone is enough for me to say, no, I'm not. The Shaheen thing, I'm already upset at her mom for being such a terrible senator for New Hampshire that I can't risk the opportunity for her daughter to also be terrible for the next 20 or 30 years. We don't have the time for that. So that's why, to me, the coalescing, I understand. They are so scared of those two front runners possibly running away with it. And then we all are going to have to bite our lip and vote for them if that's the case. That does not mean that I want everybody to fold in and fight them, because I think everybody has an opportunity, because I believe in what you said. The primary is for choice.
Right. Right. Well, let's talk about that a little. I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Thank you. I've been wanting to say this for months.
You said it. And listen, like, I don't think Maura or Stephanie have any disillusionment of how people feel. When Stephanie called me before she announced, because she knew I was going to run, because it's New Hampshire.
Sure.
People knew before I announced, right? She called, and that was very kind. And I said, Steph, and again, I like all my primary mates as people. I disagree with how they've done certain things.
Sure.
I disagree with them being the option that I think we should be putting forward, but it's up to the people.
Yes.
In the end, this is the vote of the people. I can say whatever I want. It doesn't matter. It's up to the vote of the people. That's what democracy is, right? But when Stephanie called me, and I said, Stephanie, why are you not using your name to run for governor, right? Because that was a whole other conversation we can address about people trying to get one of the CD-01 candidates to run for governor. Like, let's talk about the sticky stuff, Adam, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
I'm all in on it. And she said, well, RFK Jr. And while I understand that, and I'll tell you why I have huge compassion for that, because
yes.
I am the parent of a medically complicated kid.
Sure.
My eldest is a brain tumor survivor. I walked them into brain surgery at 2.9 years old, not knowing if he was going to come out.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that.
Like, I wasn't sure why they had a nurse assigned to the parent to walk them out of the OR. Yeah. I found out real quickly when I put my child down on that operating table and felt the floor go out from under me, right?
I literally couldn't imagine being in those shoes.
So I get it. And as my kid gets older, as Seth gets older, the chance of that tumor reoccurring only increases.
Yeah.
Right? I get it. I very much understand Stephanie's dedication to that mission. However, I don't believe that this is a one-issue election, right?
Absolutely not.
Have affordability, which comes down to so many things, including healthcare, housing, education funding, right? We have accountability, which we've talked about a little bit. I've whispered impeach Pete Hegseth. I'm going to say it again, probably 10 more times.
I'll say it with you.
There's a list there.
Impeach.
He absolutely has to go. He is putting our service members' lives at risk and putting a national strategy, security strategy in play that isn't working. It's not working, right? And so when we're looking at accountability, that goes across the board, right? And then there's another piece for me in this, Adam, that is about integrity, about trust, about faith, about creating a new politics that isn't cutthroat and sticky and throwing each other under the bus and putting people in manipulated positions where you know they have to respond, not backing people into corners. We can and should be doing this differently, right? And I think, Stephanie and Maura obviously have every right to step up and offer themselves to the people, and people have a right to put their vote behind a candidate that they believe will lead the change that they want to see, not only in the party, but in politics, and someone who can actually get the job done.
Yeah. And listen, I think that they're more than qualified to do this. I just think that if they go represent us, they're going to do it in a way that is much like Chris Pappas. We're going to get half a Democrat in that seat, right? Chris Pappas only votes with the Democrats 54.7% of the time. He's half
Look
a
at
Democrat.
You with the stats.
Yeah. I read this stuff every single day.
But I think that so I'm going to pull away from that a little bit, because I think we're kind of getting into the wrong fights right now, right? So I'm looking at prioritization.
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm feeling inside the Democratic Party right now is a mutiny. And our ship is sinking, Adam. Our ship is sinking. We need to plug the holes first. However,
yes.
How do we plug the holes? Right? That's the ultimate question that we're in. How are we thinking ahead? How are we plugging the holes? Right? And that's a big part of why I've put myself up as a candidate who is truly of, for, and by the people.
Yes.
And do we have the courage and the determination and the bravery to vote for that change?
I'm going to ask you something completely left field that I always forget to ask people, because this is really important to me. Where do you sit on cannabis legalization at the federal level?
Oh, absolutely. So this is a great conversation, especially here in New Hampshire. And I have a personal story to share about it. First of all, it's happening all around us in New Hampshire, right? And so we need to deal with it at the state level immediately. Federally declassified, it needs to be studied. We need to be able to utilize the incredible potency and tools that cannabis offers to us medically, for PTSD, for pain management, for anxiety. Like, there's so many things that we can utilize.
You actually have a good position on this, so I'm going to go one step further. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just want to share this personal story, because I think it hits home. So I'm of the generation where I've lost more people than I can count on my hands to overdose or accidental overdose.
Yes.
Okay. Or addiction in some form or fashion. And when my husband went through, he had to go through 2 ankle surgeries because one of the first surgeries failed. That was fun. He broke titanium screws in his foot, if that gives you any insight to
I have
my
one
husband.
in my head.
Yeah, so this is my husband breaking titanium screws. He said, I don't want to be on opioids. I don't want to be on those pain medications.
Yeah.
Now, my husband has a CDL license. So even though, right.
I already know where this is going.
You know exactly where this is going, right? So he had to be taken off of the insurance at work completely so that his CDL license wasn't at risk. And we put a plan together and researched and put a plan together for a protocol of cannabis products to help him manage his pain after the surgery. And he was on heavy duty pain meds for probably 24 to 48 hours. And then we transitioned him off. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, when they're used like that,
correct.
It's fine. Really quick, isolated. Here you go. Get through this. Yep. I think it's fine. Do you feel that way about psychedelic mushrooms at all? This is something that I can't. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That I can't get other people to comment on, because
I will comment on this.
So I would like to hear
legislation sitting on my phone about putting things in place, especially for our service members, for managing PTSD and coming through things, and what microdosing can do and help with. Okay, and I have very good friends who have been working on things that I cannot, like, we have service members who are put in positions abroad And then we expect them to come home.
Yeah.
And live everyday life like it's normal.
That's really hard to do. So I understand.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I have veterans on my team. My husband was in Afghanistan for 17 months. This is very close to me, right? And care for our service members, the people that quite literally put their lives on the line to defend our freedom and democracy, however we think about that. And that's, nuance in terms of where we send our service members and how we care for them. But when they come home, we should make sure that we have every tool possible, that we are able to safely do that, which means we need the studies.
Yeah.
And we need to fund the studies to be able to provide every possible option to our service members. And that's where I stand on that.
No, that's good to hear. I wanted to ask that before I forgot, because every time I finish an episode, I'm like, oh no, why didn't I ask?
Well, it's so interesting because these are policy points that aren't often talked about on the trail, but are things that I've been working on for quite some time and have been working with various communities, especially the veterans community, on these things, working with the medical community on how do we give pain management?
Yes.
Okay? I've had 3 kids, Adam. I've had 3 epidurals.
Yeah.
Okay. I labored for, I think, close to 30 hours with each before getting that epidural. I understand how valuable pain management is.
Pain's no joke.
It's no joke. And especially chronic pain.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
It's something I have to deal with every day.
There you go.
Like literally from my own service. So that's why I ask these questions.
Thank you.
Because we're talking about people that are, again, half in.
Yeah.
It feels like. But I understand what they're doing. A lot of the positions in CD1 are to try to cross over and get those independents and maybe the Republicans that are on the fence, right?
So let's talk about that.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about that. So what's interesting, I think, and where we are, the opportunity that we have right now is that we have a Republican Party that isn't actually a Republican Party.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, it's masquerading, for sure.
It's masquerading. It is moving into authoritarianism. It is an extremism.
Yeah.
And we have an extremism in the Democratic Party, too, that's going all the way as far left as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
And whenever we have extremism, it's generally speaking the people that suffer.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that doesn't mean centrist. Right. And that's why, we were talking earlier about how do we define things? Progressive. What's the platform? What's a Democrat?
Right? Label me, please.
Right. Like, give me the, my husband has the little label printer at home.
Yeah.
I want to start putting labels on myself. What am I? I'm a human. I'm a human that cares about people.
Yes.
Right. And so where in politics are we putting the focus on people?
Yeah. I mean, that's what people need.
Right.
Literally.
And that's the job, right?
Yes.
Instead of making this a career, instead of making this whatever number of things we can talk about in terms of corruption and lining pockets and stocks and all of that happens, which should not be happening. That's broken the foundation of trust between the people and those elected to serve them, right? But right now we have an incredible opportunity in these midterms to redefine where we are, what the party means, and where we want to go. And so I think that I know that I would not be sitting here having this conversation as a congressional candidate. That's still a shocking thing for me to say. I'm doing this.
You'll always
I'm on
be.
the ballot. I'm running at him.
You'll always tell people no matter what, I did run.
Yeah. And we can talk about imposter syndrome too, because that's a thing for people that don't step
feel
up,
it.
right?
Yes,
right.
yes.
We all have something to offer here. And for those of us who put our heads in and do the work and save the people, that's not something we think about.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think there's anything special about me, and my team hates it when I say that. But coming back to where we are now, I would not be able to sit here. I would not be able to run as a young woman without the people and the women that have fought before me to pave the path for me to be here. There are people alive right now. There are women alive right now who could not open a bank account without their husband's signature.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about in 26.
This is real.
Yeah.
This is not that far away. And so when you're looking at how we have grown the Democratic Party in New Hampshire, however you feel about Senator Shaheen, we would not have a Democratic Party without the Shaheens. Okay? And that is real. And hats off to them. Thank you for paving the way. We now need to decide the way forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to get hung up on the past or where we've been or any of that. We have an opportunity. We cannot squander it.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But it's on all of us to do the research, to understand who we're possibly sending to Washington, D.C. Because I can tell you just from a personal point of view that if we send a shit candidate to Washington, D.C., and I don't feel that way about any, but I'm saying if whoever it is, if they sit down and start doing all the opposite of what we sent them to do, I will spend every minute I have thinking of another video I can make to make sure that they don't get reelected in 2030.
And I think it's more
or
than
28.
that, whenever it is, right? But I think it's more than that. I think to that point, and a conversation that I've been having on the trail is if we don't put someone in office who actually can follow through with what they're saying on the campaign trail,
I'm just so afraid of the Fettermans.
The pendulum is going to swing the other, but it goes beyond that, Adam.
Oh, no, that's true.
Okay?
That's true.
The pendulum is going to swing in 2028. Now, I've worked with both Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance's offices. I have no desire to see them walking into the White House in 2028. That's very real for me. Okay. And so for me, I think the Democrats need to contend with the fact that we've overpromised and underdelivered. And there's lots of reasons why, right? Fine. But when I hear people on the trail say impeach Trump, and we're not talking about the fact that that would take 2 years, and what would it end with? It would end with us removing him of office, but not being able to hold him legally accountable for profiteering off of the presidency? No, I want to take that man to court.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions on impeaching just in general, because unless you have 60 Democrats that are absolutely going to vote for the removal,
right?
We don't really have much of a conversation. That's why this year's so important, because if you don't put in the people that are going to vote to remove, to impeach and remove, then you've wasted a lot of time. We could be using that time to do investigations. We could be prosecuting. We could do so many things.
Adam,
yes.
We can get people more affordable health care.
I want all of it.
Like, this is the thing. So when, coming back to some of like the policy points and the differences and where are we going and why is a primary so important?
Yeah.
Right. There are policy differences between I think there's 9 of us now in this race, which
9 or 10,
which is a pretty incredible New Hampshire primary.
Yeah.
Right. There's 7 of us who have been in this for almost a year. I've gotten to know all of them very well. I enjoy being on the trail with them. I've had to speak out and hold some of them accountable for behavior I don't agree with. I don't like doing that, but it's real. It's about accountability. And we have to do that even within our own party.
Absolutely.
Especially within our own party, right? But for me, when we talk about Medicare for all, or I like to say single payer system,
right. Well,
we need to change the language around this.
Yes.
People have associations with Medicare for all. We need single payer system.
Yeah.
Now I'll push on this. I have said I am a candidate who supports this. I would put my name on as a co-sponsor to that legislation. I would vote for it if it came to the floor. Do I think we can get it done in the next 2 years? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why.
Sure. Please.
Single-payer legislation was introduced in 1970. We've been working on this for 56 years. I don't know about you, Adam, but my health insurance for our family of 5 went up to $2,600 a month this year. That's over $30,000 on just the premium. That doesn't include the deductible. That brings us up to $40,000, $50,000 on a working class income.
Yeah, that's incredible as a number. Like, how do you even work with that?
This is real. And I am so incredibly grateful now, as my husband is a full-time firefighter, we got Delta Dental for the kids, Adam. I literally cried putting those cards in my wallet the other day. And I'm not the only one. So we need solutions now. I've actually called for a 3-step plan to get us closer to single payer system. One is we need the federal government to take over re-risk insurance. Do you know what re-risk insurance is?
No, please.
Okay. So this is an amazing thing that a lot of people don't know about. When Obamacare went into place and required insurance companies to cover kids like mine who are brain tumor survivors, who are high-risk insurees, it drove all of our premiums up.
Yep.
Because it was one step of like a 20-step plan that didn't get actualized, right? So insurance companies purchase something called risk insurance or reinsurance from companies overseas, et cetera, et cetera. That drives our premiums way up.
Yep.
If we have the federal government take this over, it puts income back into our whole economic taxation system. It allows us to keep it in-house for less than what insurance companies are paying overseas from private companies. And it drives all of our premiums down immediately.
Which would be great.
Okay. And I already have growing bipartisan support from this. I work with Republicans and Democrats on the Hill. You know, they're interested in finding solutions. We need real solutions. So that's step one. Okay. Federal government needs to take over re-risk insurance and drive our premiums down. It's my like triage brain of stop the bleeding, ease the pain, fix the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the stop the bleeding, because we're all bleeding out the money for our health insurance. The two is we need to put guardrails in place for insurance companies. My mom went back to school after I was born because I was an unnecessary C-section, unnecessary cesarean. And she didn't want to allow that to happen to other people.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
That inspired her. And I watched my mom go through all pre-med and medical school, graduate when I was 14. I remember my mom calling home to say goodnight because she was sleeping on the couch at the library at school because she had an early exam or test the next morning. And now you have insurance companies who I can tell you, Adam, did not do all of that.
Yeah.
Telling my mom how to care for her patients, or they're going to pull the contract and she can't care for any of the patients that have their insurance. That is wildly inappropriate and unethical. So we need to put guardrails in place there. And one of the big things we need to do is put people in Congress that are not going to be bought by lobbyists.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's number two. Number three, I've worked in nonprofits for 2 decades. We need to move the medical system to a nonprofit model.
Oh, for sure. You should not profit off of healthcare.
And we're feeling it here at home, right? Like I mentioned, I graduated high school as an EMT. We had to do the, child labor part of the class. We had to make sure we got signed off on that. I never delivered a baby in the ambulance.
Thankfully, yes.
Now we're finding that EMTs and firefighters and paramedics are delivering babies in the ambulance, in the fire truck, on the side of the road, at people's homes because they can't get to a hospital or maternity ward fast enough because hospitals are shutting down maternity wards. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're not profitable.
They're doing it right here in Exeter.
It's happening.
Like it's right here in our backyard.
And like I said, Adam, I have had 3 children.
Yeah.
Okay. I labored at home. I did my best. I needed medical help. I would not be here. My children would not be here without medical help. That is there for us in the quote unquote greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And it's oncology departments as well are being shut down because they're not profitable.
Which is a shame. Absolutely sad. Like nobody should make $1 off of somebody else's bad fortune, misfortune, whatever you want to say.
It's basics, right? It's basics like food and housing and healthcare that allow us to show up and create a bench of amazing political candidates.
Which is a great tie
it's all
back.
Connected.
Why could we not just one day make Medicare for all and just everybody's already like it's an opt-out system. Like you just wake up, you get notified, you have Medicare, you're good to go, and then make the transition. Just put everybody on. I say that because being a retired military, I have TRICARE for the rest of my life.
Yes.
I do pay for it, but I have that. I can go to the doctor. I can just call up the VA. And, people always say, like, you want the government managing your health care? Yeah, I do, because they're really freaking good at it. They're like, what about Canada? What about them? Everybody's getting serviced up there. Everybody's seeing a doc. I saw a thing last night, a headline. I don't know if it's true. I haven't gone back to but 92% of Americans right now will not go see their doctor because it's too expensive.
Yep.
Wow.
I finally just went to the eye doctor the other day because we have better health insurance now.
Oh, that's a sore spot.
My
for
vision.
Me. I know. I bought vision insurance.
Yeah.
We went to the only place that people wanted to go to for that, my family, and then they don't take insurance. And then when they said, but we'll help you, file, and then you can submit. I paid more because I had insurance than I would have if I had no insurance.
Out of pocket pay, right? Yeah, I mean,
So
the
I'm
whole
canceling.
system. So let's talk about it, okay? So a couple things. One is I just don't think we have the votes to get Medicare through right now.
Generally, I agree
right
with
now,
that. I agree right now.
And
yes.
I think single payer system is the goal.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, we have a Medikids Act that was recently introduced that automatically provides health coverage from birth to 26. This is legislation that was just introduced. So anybody listening,
I'm already excited.
Spread the word. Call your people. Tell everybody around the country to call their senators and their representatives to sign on and co-sponsor this legislation. Yep. We can do this right now. It's legislation on the table. It was introduced.
All right.
And so I think that's a fantastic step. We need to make sure that the most vulnerable in our communities are cared for immediately. I was a single mother, Adam, and I know what it's like to go in and apply for food stamps. I get goosebumps every time I say that, but it's something people need to know, that these are programs that real people need.
Even programs like WIC.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
I was a full-time teacher. My first marriage fell out from under me. I had to feed my kid.
Yeah.
That's real, right? And so when we're looking at supporting a healthy economy, which benefits all of us, it serves all of us to have health care so we can have a healthy community.
Yes.
Have fully funded education so we can have an engaged, educated, creative community. That we have a housing solution that allows people to actually stay here in New Hampshire.
Would be amazing.
Right? I mean, we're in a situation right now where we have young adults living with their parents because they can't afford even an apartment right now. And honestly, we need more ADUs because it would be great for those parents to, be able to charge some level of rent and, have their kids have their own space.
Yeah.
But that is very real. And we're not talking about these things. And we're not talking about real solutions that we can put in play. Like, I'm not a candidate that's going to talk about pie in the sky, philosophical clouds that would be great someday. No, I'm someone who's of action. I want to know what can we do right now to ease the burden on people, because people are hurting.
Yeah, and I'm sure you hear probably everywhere you go
what
people are feeling here in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Even I do, and I'm not running for office. Yeah. People are really, really hurting. And I think it's important that we send people. Actually, before I go into that point, see, this is the problem with ADHD.
I love it. But it makes for creative conversations. Okay. What is it?
But this is really a conversation. Yeah. I want to know how you feel as a candidate and you see the rest of the field winning the seats or the primaries across the U.S., like whether it's Mom Donnie, I don't know all their names, but
that's okay.
Al Sayed.
Abdul El Sayed.
Yes. Sorry. I'm really bad with some of these names, but like Michigan and elsewhere across. Yep. I think Colorado had a pretty good one the other day. Does that give you hope that we can maybe do more I mean, because right now I feel like Congress is really center of the road for the most part.
So what I think it's doing is sending a message that we want change, and what are the priorities that we want to focus on. And the priority that I'm hearing across the board from all of these wins, no matter who they are, whether they're a quote unquote progressive or an establishment, or again, the labels, right? Where's my little label maker? No matter who they are, they're winning because they're campaigning on things that matter to 80% of people.
Right. Very populist message.
Very much about the people. I'm careful with the populist term, right? But
that's fair.
Again, like all of these things, we have associations with socialism and populism and progressive and establishment. Like, okay, guys, like... Can we come to the drawing board and talk about actually creating solutions and delivering change and having a real message that hits home? And fundamentally, what is hitting home is that people want healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay? They want a housing solution. They want an economy that allows us all to live. Right?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. And so that does give me hope because people are becoming more engaged and participating members of the process. And one of the things, we haven't talked about my work in DC yet.
Oh, no. We're about to get there. Don't worry.
We can get there. But one of the most inspiring things for me from that work is seeing in action how much it matters when people come together to coordinate to fight for what's right.
Yeah.
We can actually do something. And there are so many people in this country who believe our voice doesn't matter, who believe our votes don't matter. And it could not be further from the truth right now. And in fact, we need everyone engaged in what is happening in our political space in this country right now.
Oh, I fully agree. Yeah. And I support everything you're saying. We need real people to go in and make real change. Do you even pay attention to these races that are going on as a candidate? Does it influence you? Does it strengthen your positions? Does it make you maybe reevaluate any positions?
No, my positions have stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I don't think I've shifted. I think it really is about working class folks having a seat at the table and running a campaign based on competency, not just on fundraising and marketing ability, which is what we run campaigns on right now.
Yeah.
Like this is a job interview for a role of service,
very much
not a career. And the way that we handle campaigns, which is an interesting thing that I'm watching around the country, is, we have campaigns that are spending far less than others, but running on a very clear message of for and by the people. Of, for, and by the people, truly. Not just saying that. Right? But living that, showing that, truly believing that, and then fighting for that, standing strong for those values. That gives me hope.
And I think that's a good pivot for where I want to go next, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
When I found out how much work you did with Ukraine, as somebody that's retired from the service, when I joined the service, we were still kind of at the tail end of the Cold War. Russia's our enemy. Russia. We get to 2016, and all of a sudden, somehow, Russia becomes our best friend, right? I won't...
You skipped over what happened in 2014, but we'll get there.
Well, we could. I'll address it.
Yeah.
So 2014, I'm in my office in South Korea. I work across from the commander's office, and we get word that Crimea was invaded, and all in all, we did nothing.
Nothing. We
literally said, that's a go. And that's a very disappointing moment for me, to be honest. Anyway, then we get to 16, and we get the Kremlin's preferred candidate into office. Everything changes. Now I'm supposed to undo a lifetime of adversarial thoughts for Russia and other countries too. That is North Korea, Iran. That's the
axis of evil, my friend.
Right. This is very real. And then so I'm told that I'm supposed to accept Russia and then we're going to be okay. But then they do their special 3-day operation in Ukraine because Crimea wasn't enough.
3 days.
Yeah, I think we're something like 1,500 days into it or something.
Yes.
And so when I found this out, I was like, I need to talk to her because I want to talk about Ukraine as somebody that's a veteran that has served 20. There's plenty of people that are doing it now, plenty of people that did it before. And they must be just tied into knots watching this happen. And having people that never served, that have no idea about foreign policy, pop up in support of the president and saying, we love Russia. Russia's great. Russia's a hoax. It's not real. Like, all of that probably makes me more angry as an American than a lot of the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know, one, can you tell me a little bit about what you do with Ukraine?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for serving in a way I've not been able to. It's a big part of why I've stepped up to be of service now in the capacity that I can be.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
It's also why I chose to step up and do what I could in the fight that I see is for freedom, for democracy, for international law of sovereignty and territorial integrity, for a nation that is trying really hard to develop its democracy, coming through decades of Soviet rubble, if not centuries, right, of oppression. And we talk a lot about the Middle East. We don't talk a lot about the shifting borders and dynamics that have happened in Central and Eastern Europe, right? There's a very complicated relationship between Poland and Ukraine. My great-grandmother was born in Lviv. That's very challenging. I'm honored to have a bracelet on my wrist that was given to me by the mayor of Lviv because that's special, right? Yeah. And it brings it close to home. And to your point, as someone who understands the implications of what happens when people don't stand up, I couldn't turn my back. Just like I can't turn my back on our country right now, I could not turn my back on Ukraine when I saw innocent people fighting for their democracy and freedom. And so, I joke about this because we're in New Hampshire. We're a hunting, Harley riding family. And much to my husband's chagrin, I am a terrible shot. I'm working on it, promise. I'm working on it. Lots of people offered to give me the training.
Just a few more range
It's just,
hours.
Listen, it's the way it is, okay? However, I'm a terrible shot currently. I can't see if I lose my glasses. I have an autoimmune disease that would allow me to eat nothing on the front lines. I would be a liability on the ground in Ukraine. But I had decades of experience in nonprofit work. I had my background in education, and I was stuck home during COVID with 3 kids with my husband on mandatory overtime. I could offer my ability to organize. I could offer my ability to educate. And so I jumped in as the pro bono executive director for the sister organization here in the U.S., for a Ukrainian organization called Detalion, Ukraine's Data Battalion, that was documenting what was happening on the ground through verified eyewitness accounts, and then getting those eyewitness accounts, images, media, videos, all of that into the hands of decision makers, from the ICC to Boris Johnson to every member on the Hill, into the news and media, Fox News included. Because what they were seeing is that journalists weren't going where things were happening. I had the most humbling experience. My first trip away from my youngest, he was 2 years old. I flew to Chicago to speak on behalf of Max Levin's family. Max was murdered in Bucha. And we had his final images on display. And I was incredibly honored and humbled to speak on behalf of someone who gave his life in a way of service that's different than how you and I step up.
Yeah.
But still just as important.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And that compelled me to continue doing these exhibits, having meetings on the Hill, bringing eyewitness accounts to every office on the Hill, having a daily briefing that I was putting together with eyewitness images, an eyewitness story with a direct link to who that witness was, if they wanted to bring that witness in for a hearing or a meeting on the Hill, and then a sit rep, because we were seeing 100-page war briefings coming out, and unless you're on House Foreign Affairs or any of the Foreign Affairs or Armed Services or Intelligence, you're not reading that 100-page briefing, right? And so we're creating a sit rep, which is a situation update, basically, for people that don't know, of what was happening on the ground so that staffers could brief their leadership.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, they're handling a whole lot of things, not just Ukraine. They needed a cut and go, ready to digest what is happening on the ground and what do we need to do today, right? We all hoped this would be over in a week, a month, then 3 months. And as we got further into this, I realized a couple things. One, I have a unique experience and understanding of what war is that most people, thank goodness, and thank you to people like you, most people in this country don't have. And so as an educator, I kept thinking, how can I share how serious this is, how important this is for us to be paying attention to, how much pain and suffering is happening that is wrong, that we need to stand up for and against. How can I share that with people? How can I have them safely understand or begin to understand some level of what this is, right? And so I got it. I started blowing up images from the front lines, 36 by 48 inches, putting them in the rotundas on the Hill so that members had to see them and react as a human to what they were seeing. And then we found that there was an overwhelming, and we feel it here in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is such a Ukraine-strong state. Why? Because we get it. We don't want someone coming into our backyard and then being like, well, this is my backyard now.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. But we do have some people here that are not Ukraine supporters.
It's not the majority, though.
No, thankfully.
Which is an amazing thing. I mean, people down in D.C. talk to me about it. You're like, New Hampshire is we're a small but mighty state, right? And we are known because we stand for freedom. I talk to people who may disagree, and we can talk a little bit more about that, may disagree on certain points of Ukraine, may disagree and say, well, corruption this, corruption that. Right. They're a young democracy. If we let them fall, they never have the chance to work through that. That is essential. That's number one. Number two, they are beyond the humanitarian scope. We know from an exercise in Estonia just over a year ago, if we don't have Ukraine, NATO falls. And people are like, oh, NATO, this, that. No, it directly impacts not only our national security, our economy, our energy. We will implode. Does that mean that I think NATO shouldn't, step up, pay their own? We can talk about NATO development, right?
That's fine.
That's a separate issue.
That's a very different topic.
But if Ukraine falls to Russia, plus China, plus Iran, plus North Korea, the immense resource of not only a battle-hardened community of soldiers that will be turned against us, and then the resources of Ukraine, the access to the Black Sea, the grain basket that Ukraine is for the rest of the world, we are literally up a creek without a paddle.
Oh, absolutely.
And a sitting duck target.
Yep.
Right? So it goes beyond just the humanitarian, just the defense of freedom. This is a much bigger picture in terms of supporting Ukraine. And what I say to people is, and I'm trigger warning, right? Because I know what's happened on the ground. I look at some of our friends here in New Hampshire who are like, and I say, you okay with someone coming into your house and raping your wife or daughter and then setting up camp in the living room and saying it's their living room now? You okay with that?
Yeah.
Because that is literally what is happening.
I apologize for the language, but I will die with the thought, fuck Russia. All right. At the end of the day, as a military veteran retired, I'm upset that Obama didn't do anything for Crimea.
Agreed.
I'm so disappointed in both Trump terms. I am very disappointed in the Biden term, even though he did help a little bit. There is I will never accept Russia getting land or anything out of the invasion. If anything, they should pay for decades to come to rebuild Ukraine. Those poor children that were stolen.
700,000 over the last 12 years.
Ukraine needs to be part of NATO. Like, this should have all happened years ago. The fact that we're still at where we are is completely unacceptable.
Right.
And anybody that supports Russia, turn this podcast off right now. I don't want you in my community.
Well, and I think to your point, it's this, right? Like when, and again, this is part of why I got into this race.
Yeah.
Right. When we have an administration that wants to cozy up to Russia and thinks that the national security plan is pull China away from Russia and that's going to serve us, that makes zero sense. And we're failing at it. We're putting our men and women at risk overseas right now in the Middle East. We have a major issue. We're not taking care of our troops, and this national security plan is not working. No. And to your point, I agree with you. I think that we need to have strong lines, right? There's a certain point at which, yes, we work on a world stage, and yes, we have morals and ethics on leading on what freedom and democracy is. I mean, just stand by that, right? And so that's a big part. So I went on, Adam, and became a founding board member and the Ukraine Action Chair for the American Coalition for Ukraine, which just a few weeks ago was deemed by Moscow as an undesirable organization.
Oh, you're surprising me.
And I wear that. I mean, the text messages that went around when Moscow issued that statement was all of us being like, we did it. We have become so impactful.
Yeah.
That they had to make a statement. And this is an organization that didn't exist 3.5 years ago. Okay?
I'm glad you guys do exist.
They do. And I have stepped away. I've stepped away from all my C3 work. I'm now a political fireball.
Sure.
But I am very proud of the work that continues, that those who are soldiering on inside are keeping it going. There's another summit coming up in September for anyone who wants to go advocate and see what that's all about. But under my guidance, we brought over 3,000 people from all 50 states plus Puerto Rico. We had over 1,000 congressional meetings. We got discharge petitions signed and through, legislation drafted, co-sponsored and through, a coordinated effort to get $60 billion worth of aid through Speaker Johnson's office, right? And this is where that like imposter syndrome comes in, right?
Yeah.
And the recognition that it's an incredible coordinated act. That it took teams of us flying to Shreveport, Louisiana, which is Speaker Johnson's district, to build community and empower those individuals to have a voice. And I think for me, not only was it incredible to see live time that our voices matter, that we can have a direct impact on what happens here in this country that ripples around the world. But for me as a teacher, it was incredible to create the programming to educate people that were coming to DC, was saving their pennies. It was not cheap, Adam. I mean, this is not, people who have excess money. These are people that really believe this is how we need to stand up and fight, right? Saving, finding ways, sleeping on couches, sharing, rental spaces.
Yeah.
Finding a way, right, to be there. And seeing them nervous, scared, unsure of meeting with their elected official. This is somebody that is working for them, that is representing them. And so for me, seeing these people empowered with the knowledge, the confidence in the knowledge, the confidence in how to have a congressional meeting, that was everything. And I hope to bring that to people here in our country now about what's happening here.
Yeah, we need that. We need people that are going to go in and they know how things operate and how to make things move, even if it's ever so slightly. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe, just as an American citizen, that when this is over in 2030, we are going to have such a stain on us. Like everybody that came before us, like 230 years before us, they would be so embarrassed to see where we are today.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost a little too late for the American people. Like, they should have voted this out a while ago.
But we have an opportunity.
We do have an opportunity.
Right now, and over the next 10 years to stop this.
Yeah, we need to
build back. You know, we need to build back our soft power. We need to build back USAID programs. And that starts here at home, using all of our election security and democracy workers that were overseas here at home, protecting our rights to vote and our polling locations and our election security. We need to utilize them for creating food security so that we don't have situations like the ACA folding, when those senators and our elected officials had families calling saying, I can't feed my kids.
Yeah.
We as a community, we were not bolstered and ready for that battle. We were not. And that's a battle, right? This is like guerrilla legislation happening right now. It's real.
I think of Henry Kissinger a lot when I think about this era of our country, because he was young enough in his position to live his entire life being heckled and paying the consequences for what he did, which some people, to include myself, would say it wasn't far enough. And that's the same situation we have in our country right now. We have not taken action to make these people accountable. Like, let's talk about the impeachment just a little bit here, right?
And then let's go back to foreign policy.
We're not done. We're not done. But I want to say, one of our first actions should be obviously to start impeaching everybody that is a department head, cabinet members. We need to get rid of Lutnick, Hegseth for sure.
He's number one on my list.
He is just awful. And one thing
Did you get your testosterone tested, by the way?
No, I already know mine's higher than his. I had no test needed for that. I've seen him.
I appreciate that answer.
Yeah, I've seen him try to do PT, so I think we're all good. I have no hope that Donald Trump will see what he deserves. I firmly don't think that he'll make it out of this year. I've seen the cankles. I've seen the medical stuff. Like, if he gets out of 26, he'd be so lucky. But what keeps me going, and I have the hope for, is that all the other people that are in the cabinet are young enough to spend the rest of their lives just catching as much shit as they can from the American people. But I want them to have more than that. I don't want just impeachment. I want incarceration. I want retribution. I know this sounds like Trump running for the second term.
No, it doesn't, Adam. It's real, because we have fallen into a place where, like, we are a country founded on law.
Yes.
And justice and accountability. And every single one of these individuals who has wronged the American people, who has misused their position of power, who has utilized their office to line their own pockets, every single one of them needs to be held accountable. And I'm going to get personal for a sec.
Please.
Okay. I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I have personally thanked Congressman Ro Khanna for his work on the Epstein files, for working across party lines for that. We've seen the kickback to Massey on what happened for him standing out. Yep. Same thing that happened to Kinzinger, Adam Kinzinger, who's endorsed me when he stood up against Trump on the January 6th committee, right? But these are people that are principled, that we need to align with to be the force against what is happening and reestablish the rules of the road and our democracy and freedoms, right? And so I have huge appreciation for the delicate nature in which Congressman Khanna has been navigating the Epstein files, in that he's not going to blow the names out of the water because the victims would like to see real justice. Let's talk about what real justice
they deserve it.
Looks like, right? Because it's not just outing these individuals' names.
Right.
Right? It's accountability. It's like, it goes across the board. I think about, for whatever reason, a conversation with unions that has popped up about subcontractors, and the subcontractors then utilizing other workers that are paid under the table, and how there's no actual accountability. There's law against it, but there's no accountability.
Right.
There's no accountability to our governor and the executive council for passing a budget that doesn't fully fund our schools. Like, let's talk about accountability, because that's number 2 on my list of running, right? It's affordability, accountability, integrity. And that accountability piece is incredibly important, because if we don't hold each other to a standard.
Yeah, the American people need closure.
Where are we, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that the number one place that we should start, and this might be a little bit of contentious, but every lawmaker that went to Moscow for July 4th should be prosecuted for treason at the very least. They should be forced to never hold public office, and I think they should sit for treason.
I'd be happy to look at those cases. And I mean, I think that goes even beyond our nation, right?
Oh, it
and
does.
I'm going to bring it back to foreign policy a little bit.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, but so here's the thing. A lot of people, even last night, I was in Dover, and people were like, why aren't you running for a state level? Why aren't you running for governor, right? Because there was that whole conversation in the CD-01 race. Well, it doesn't serve somebody. It doesn't serve our country. It doesn't serve the district. It doesn't serve the party for me to apply for a position that I can't do, right? I don't think I'm the right candidate for governorship. It doesn't serve anybody for me to get in there and fall on my face in the 2 years and could I figure it out? Sure, fine. But that's not my area of expertise. That's not where I can be plugged in, ready to go, day one, already working out. I'm already doing the work on the Hill. I'm already doing the work on the international foreign affairs scope of things.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm just asking people to put me in. Put me in, coach.
Yep.
I'm ready. I'm ready to bat this one. Not forever. I'm ready to bat this inning. Right? And so for me, that's why I'm running at the federal level, because we have massive issues around the world that are impacting us here at home. And at the federal level, New Hampshire is giving more and getting less. And that needs to change. So it's a two-front, right? We have a situation where we have put ourselves in a national security scenario with one strong ally in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Jewish candidate. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's got to be a tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been called a closeted Zionist. I've been targeted. The whole piece. I'm really grateful for my community. And I want to remind people, I didn't vote for Netanyahu. I'm a liberal American Jew.
Yeah.
Right? But we as a country need to figure out how to diversify our relationships so that we can pull the appropriate levers we need to. So in terms of accountability, I've worked directly with the ICC in The Hague. We need to become a participating member. Marco Rubio recently made a statement about how horrific it is. And then there was a whole conversation about, the U.S. will never be held to account by a foreign body. And that's not what the ICC is. That is not what the ICC is, right? It holds individuals accountable for international crimes, for war crimes, for atrocities, for figuring out, is there grounds for genocide?
Yes.
Okay. That needs to be done through the ICC. We need to be a participating member. We need to have a seat at the table. We need to have a voice there as the quote unquote leader on the international stage.
And for those people that don't know why we're not part of the ICC, it's because we commit a lot of war crimes. Simple as that.
Say the quiet part out loud, my friend.
Yeah. We just do as a country. We have no qualms to commit any war crimes. Just look at Iran. There's plenty there.
So if we're not holding ourselves accountable, if we're not actually being true, genuine leaders, where are we? I think that's the third time I've said that. That's a genuine question. Where are we and where do we want to go and how do we do this together?
Yeah,
because that's what I'm interested in.
You have to lead by example.
Right.
And we don't do that.
Right.
That's why we're so afraid. That's why George W. Bush refused to be part of the ICC.
Yep.
I do talk about the ICC quite a bit because most of my time was in Asia, Southeast Asia, and Southwest Asia. So I have the Philippines right now.
Yeah.
Going through this with Duterte.
Was just talking about this last night. Yeah.
Yeah. And his head of the PNP, the Philippine National Police, Bato. these people have committed heinous atrocities, tragedies. So many families lost, their loved ones through extrajudicial punishment. And he's at the ICC to answer those things, and we need that in this country, whether it's Hegseth going to answer about the narco boat killings, whether it's the way we've handled, killing a school of
young girls.
Yeah, little ladies. Like, there is probably enough war crimes for me to do a 2-hour podcast just listing the war crimes we've participated in.
We should probably do that at some point.
Maybe it might be helpful, but the ICC, whether people agree or not, that needs to be part of not just our country, but the entire world.
Correct.
Like, we need a responsibility, a responsible body to prosecute.
Yeah, it's global ethics,
yes.
Right? And it's funny. It brings up something that I'm not sure that you know about me, and my team jokes that there's always, in conversation over the last 15 months, there's always some new Sarah lore. Who are you?
I love lore.
So, fun fact, my great-grandfather designed the IUD as we know it after he escaped from World War II out of Vienna, Austria. Yep.
Wait. Are we talking about birth control?
Yeah, IUD.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Jesus. What's that guy up to? Or what was he up to? Yeah.
Great-grandfather Coco. Yeah. Lazarus Margulies down at Mount Sinai.
Wow.
But the other part is my great uncle was a journalist, passed away fairly recently. We joke that, some of us are accidental Washingtonians. I stayed away from politics, honestly, as long as I could.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't want to get involved. I wanted to be a community organizer. I wanted to be in schools. I wanted to build those relationships. And these relationships are incredibly important to me. Right? I love them.
Very much
right?
so. Yeah.
However, my great uncle is Neil Sheehan. He is the journalist who released the Pentagon Papers. He's also the one who wrote A Bright and Shining Lie about our transgressions in Vietnam. And that textbook of a book, it's very thick, is now used across our country to educate people, right?
Oh, what a rich history to have.
It's pretty special. And my point to that is I come from a history of individuals who are not afraid to step out of the box, and who are not afraid to lead in change, and who are not afraid to hold people in positions of power accountable. And that's where we are here in our country and globally, here in our party, here in our Congress, like every single level.
Yeah, there's a lot of uprising.
Right? It's time. It's time to hold people's feet to the fire. It's time to stand by integrity. It's time to build the foundation of the nation that we want for the next 250 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely. Win or lose, you're still going to do the Ukraine stuff, I'd imagine, right? You're going to see this through?
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. And I think that goes across the board. I have learned so much running for Congress. I have been overwhelmed by the welcome and the support, the number of people that say, Sarah, please don't go anywhere after this primary.
It is important.
And that means a lot.
Yeah.
Because I need feedback from people. Where am I hitting home? How can I be helpful? Right? This isn't about me. This is about what can we do together?
No, we're all a puzzle piece.
How can I be of service in this moment?
Yeah. Where do I fit in?
Where do I fit in?
Absolutely.
Right? How can I best help in the mission? Right? And so for me, I'm not going anywhere on any front of this. I was the senior executive coordinator for an organization called Med Global, which is an international aid organization. I have that humanitarian perspective. We raised $800,000 and directly supported medical teams going into Gaza. And so I have a unique position and understanding of what is happening there. I have been involved for 25 plus years with my family on the ground in Israel, working on and towards peaceful solutions and partnership. I know amazing Palestinians who dodged bullets to get to school. And my cousin who narrowly escaped being blown up on a bus in Israel because she slept through her alarm that day, right? Like, this is a complex issue with a long history that we absolutely need to address.
Yeah, sometimes it's so hard to think about the world, when I'm like taking it all in at the end of the day.
You got your tea right there, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Take a breath.
I take a breath. It's overwhelming. Lately, I've come to terms.
Israel and Gaza, Ukraine, our country. Sure.
It's a cruel world, right? And sometimes I reflect of, why am I here? Like physically, how did I get on this planet, and why am I a part of this system? I didn't ask to be put here. Two people thought like it would be great to put me here.
There's a lot of philosophy.
Yeah, there's a ton,
here, okay?
right? I won't know yet. Maybe one day I'll find out. But it's tough when I sit, I get to sit here in New Hampshire, and in my backyard, I get to see the cute baby deer, right?
Yeah.
All the animals running. And it's so far disconnected from like war and struggle and stuff like that. And we have our own struggles, but they are not anywhere close as. That's why I moved here, a lot of it. I wanted to get away. Like,
sure.
After 20 years of living in a lot of big cities and doing a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to come somewhere that was more of a decompressing, and it's taken me several years to get there, but I'm here and I love it.
Really proud of you.
Yeah. Well, it took a lot of like reflecting.
Really
Thank you. It's hard.
Yeah.
And
you're not alone in that.
You won't reflect on your candidacy fully until after the election, not just the primary, but the election.
For sure. I won't have time. I won't have the mental space, emotional bandwidth, none of that.
Absolutely not.
That's
like
real.
You are gonna I can remember 24 night of election. I found out I didn't win. And then I had to sit with that. I had to really like go back and think of every house that I knocked on the door, the conversations I had, how, am I happy with what I did? How did I affect? And you'll have to do the same thing. But already, do you have wins that you're like, this made me a better person because of X, Y, Z, or anything like that yet?
100%. I think I've shared already. I feel incredibly proud of the campaign that we've run, the coalition that we're building of people that want change, whatever that looks like. I think a lot about what happens when people come together in a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Right? And what does it take to actually get people to the table? To do the hard things, have the difficult conversations, and move forward, right? And I'm so grateful for the team here on the ground in New Hampshire that keeps me going.
Oh, yeah.
That is doing the hard work, right? That continues to show up every day and build this forward, not just for this primary. Are we still trying to win? Absolutely. We have 47% of voters undecided.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're still trying to win, right? And we're still looking beyond, right?
There's still so much to do.
There's still so much to do over the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years, right? So I am so grateful for this experience. I am so honored to be in this fight with so many amazing people, despite maybe some of our differences.
Yeah.
I have faith and hope that we will work through them and have the tough conversations, be in the sticky stuff of politics, and find our way through. I have 100% of a win right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do your people go to Washington with you if you were to win? I'm just curious because I've never run for federal office.
There's a whole, it depends, right? That is, I haven't even looked at what an office structure would be.
I'm just curious, like if that thought's ever gone in.
No, I mean, it is interesting. I have asked some chief of staffs to send me like their structure of how they set up their crew. There are great people down there who, for example, work on committees, depending on the committee that you're on, who are fantastic chief of staff to really like plug and play. Like you need to know Washington, which is why I'm running. I'm the only candidate that knows the lay of the land in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah.
That's it. That's real. And being down there, you need to know the literal tunnels that run across that hill, and you need to know who to call and where they are to get things done. And as a freshman going into office, you can't just pick up the phone and call a desk at the Department of State, because guess what?
Yeah, that's not how that
funny,
works.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
So much isn't there anymore.
This is like truly guerrilla legislation. How are we going to logjam this? How are we going to get this done? How are we going to have people there that actually know how to do this? So the people that I have on my team here in New Hampshire are New Hampshire grounded, right?
Yeah.
They're here. They're part of the activist community. They're part of the organizing community. They're everyday people that care about having their voices at the table where decisions are being made.
And it takes a special person to be on like a campaign.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for everybody.
It's not. It is intense work. And for a lot of the individuals here on the ground in New Hampshire on my campaign, it is their first campaign to be on. Some of them it's not.
But that's nice, though, because, I mean, we need those people to be in the system, right?
We need these people to be engaged and have their voice and be involved, right? What has happened and what I have already done as a teacher, as someone who's worked in nonprofits, I said, we can't use this campaign just for name recognition.
Yeah.
Just to win this election. This campaign has to be more than that, right? We're spending money. We're spending other people's money.
Yeah.
Right? So I have a couple individuals on my team. One who I saw his photography eye, and he's young, 20-year-old. And I said, you have something special there. Do you want to come onto this campaign? Found out he hadn't been to DC since he was in 8th grade, and his dream was to go back with a good camera.
Oh.
Andrew has now gone back twice with me to DC. He was able to go to the Principal's First Summit. He was able to go, he was on the Hill with me when the senators were coming out of the Capitol building when the subsidy shutdown was happening. We were there. We were on the Hill. And so he's gone twice with me to be down there and see
that is like a photographer's dream.
This is
just
right here.
Put it out there.
And I will say also, like, these have not been easy trips. Like, we've like borrowed a Suburban and packed everybody in the car. One of the trips we had 2 of my kids and the whole team, right? And we all drive down. One we drove right through, one we stopped halfway at a friend's. But we're true grassroots. We're in this to make it happen. Right? However, we can puzzle piece this together like a patchwork blanket. And another member of my team, Jason Quino, is a young 20-something-year-old, he's 22, has now stepped up to run for state rep in Concord.
Good for him.
So this is what I mean. So for me,
awesome.
When we talk about where is my team going,
yes,
they're already doing the things.
Yeah.
And that gives me so much joy and hope.
I do love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you an opposite question, though, because I've asked you about your successes and stuff. What is a criticism of your campaign that you either hear from people or you feel yourself? Like, where do you fall short?
Okay. So criticisms tend to be not about my skill set and my ability. They tend to be about either the fact that I haven't raised $1 million, or I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, I don't currently live in the district. Okay. And my roots are in the district.
Yeah.
I grew up hanging out in Laconia. My family's there. My uncle's a builder there. I spent my 20s in Portsmouth. My honorary parents are in Northampton. My mom was in medical school. It really does take a village. I'm so grateful for my best friend's parents who became my second parents, right? And I think I have a third and a fourth set as well.
You're lucky.
I am so incredibly lucky,
yeah,
Adam. That does not escape me. I am absolutely the luckiest. And I'm so grateful for their support. You know, in my 20s, I ended up at my honorary parents' house in Northampton, coming out of a relationship with someone who had significant addiction issues that I didn't know about and didn't know how to handle. And they were my landing pad, right? Yeah. And we need that.
Oh, we absolutely need that.
We need that in our communities. And I'm so grateful for them. And so for me, it's about addressing those things head on, right? I don't think we should be raising millions of dollars or spending millions of dollars in a primary. I don't think that's moral or ethically sound.
Yeah, I don't
Right?
think putting more commercials on TV is going to change my mind.
I don't think that's it, right? And in terms of where we are, right now, we've been 5 minutes from my husband's timber frame workshop. He has just switched to full-time firefighting up near the lakes in Samberton.
I thank him for doing that.
You know
Very much
what?
so.
He started this journey 20 years ago. And at this point in life, if he didn't do it now, Adam,
forget it.
all right, this was it. This was it. And,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful for him answering the call that he feels he needs to do to be of service in our community, right? But to this point, people are like, Sarah, why didn't you just rent an apartment in District? Now, knowing me at this point, yeah, exactly. I see it on your face. You think that's something I would do?
No.
Right? I mean, this is like, that is the exact opposite of what this campaign is about. This campaign is about integrity. It's about showing up as who you are. It's about not being afraid of that.
But there's no rule saying that you have to live here.
There is absolutely no rule. The town that we live in right now is equal to Fremont, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the same. They are super red. They are small. There is one flashing light in town. The problems are the same. So it is up to the people of District 1 who they think can do the job to represent them and be their voice at the table.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, right? And I'm never going to do something simply for political gain or leverage. That's literally everything I'm fighting against.
Yeah.
Everything I'm fighting against. No, we need to do this differently. And we need to show up differently. And show that we can campaign in a way that is authentic, that has integrity, that holds the test of time, and that stands by the people. And so for me, I look at someone, I say, I have 5 children. My husband just shifted careers. We had no idea where we were going to land.
Yeah.
We've been looking at houses for 2 years. And now we're like, okay, we know where we're going. He's up in Samberton full time. Now what, right? I don't know if you've happened to look at the housing market recently, Adam. You have a lovely place here, but like,
thank you.
The housing market is an interesting place right now.
I'm pretty plugged in, and I count the for sale signs in my area, and I do keep a strong eye on that.
Yeah. So for us, on our working class income, we currently have a farm that is in an LLC. It's shared. It's a family farm. It's not just our ownership. So we collectively chose to sell that. That's a whole can of worms in terms of funding and the LLC and all of that.
Yep.
But put that aside. On our working class income right now, we can't afford anything for a family of 5.
Yeah.
Not unless it has an ADU or a duplex or some sort of rental that would then allow us to have income to qualify for the mortgage. And that's a dangerous thing, because what happens if the economy bottoms out? What happens if we have people that can't pay their rent? Right?
Yeah.
This is a position that is not unique to us. We have families in this state that are stuck in their homes. We have senior citizens that are stuck in their homes because they can't afford to downsize. They can't pay.
Yeah, where do you go?
Right.
Like, even if you sell, and most people don't even understand, like, back in the day when it was a 20% down payment for a regular mortgage.
Right.
Sure, that was maybe 10, 20 grand back then.
Exactly.
Right now, it's $100 grand minimum. You have to have $100 grand cash in your hands to walk into a mortgage.
For a conventional mortgage.
For a conventional mortgage, for sure.
Right.
That's scary. Ain't nobody, like, we don't even pay that much.
Impossible.
Yes,
Adam.
We don't pay that much in New Hampshire. Like, you have to work either outside the state.
$7.25. Adam is
very
the
lucky.
wage.
Unreal that we cannot. We cannot increase it. We can't help people. We can't do anything in New Hampshire.
Right.
Because we just have such awful lawmakers, an awful governor.
That aren't supporting the development that we could do here on the ground at the state level.
Yes.
And then at the federal level, I would love to get in there and make sure that we can bolster our housing, make sure that the federal government is paying their fair share in education, which impacts, your property tax.
Yes.
My property tax, right?
Yes.
All of us are being squeezed by this, right? Actually get healthcare reform in place so we can breathe a little bit. Pause student loan interest rate. You want to argue about forgiving it? Fine. But you know what we can do right now? Pause the interest rate. Give people breathing room. Let them participate in the economy.
I'm hoping that in 28, the pendulum swings so hard that we actually get the opportunity to discharge everybody's loans and then make college free. I know I sound like a dirty hippie for a lot of people maybe, but that's the way this world works in my opinion.
Maybe you should put on your BDUs and then say that.
Right? They're downstairs.
No, but to your point, like I have three thoughts. One is just to wrap up on the criticism of who I am and that, my campaign and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm very honest. I'm very direct. People ask me and I respond exactly how I just responded because I think it's important that people are able to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the people. Again, I can put myself out there all I want, but it's up to the people to put their votes behind the candidate they think is going to be able to amplify their voice and stand strong for the things that will make their lives better.
Yeah.
All of our lives better, right? And then the second thing is when we're looking at how to move forward on the system, we have incredible opportunity here to capitalize on momentum of people feeling squashed, right? I have been a candidate that has come out strongly to support the tax on billionaires legislation. And I'll caveat that with we need to make sure we close loopholes for them to avoid paying their fair share.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
That's the number one. We've seen this around the world. We can learn from the mistakes around the world and do better here.
Yeah, we
right?
can absolutely tax
as a teacher,
the rich.
I'm always looking at, what can we do better? What were the mistakes? Learn and grow, right? But we have 938 billionaires, 1 trillionaire, 938 billionaires in this country. And under that tax plan, it would be $4.4 trillion over the course of 10 years, right? There's a lot of other things we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about energy security. We haven't talked about the national debt, all things that are top of mind for me in terms of our stability as a country, right? We need to reel it in. We need to dial it in.
Yeah.
And to your point of education, and actually, I'm curious your response to this. So I've asked folks from the Pentagon to folks that have been stationed abroad, to contractors, to USAID, to State Department folks, what is the number one thing that would stop endless war? Do you know what it is?
I have some ideas, and I do think that education is probably at the top of it.
There it is. That is it. Every single time.
Yeah.
I remember even sitting on a plane and I happened to be sitting next to the now former director of nutrition at USAID. And I'm one of those not shy people. I know you're shocked that talks to whoever's sitting next to me on the plane. And they put their headphones on, that I'm respectful.
I do the same, by the way.
Right. And I love to hear who they are, what they're doing. I've met the most fascinating people that
who's the coolest person maybe you sat next to? Can you think of anybody?
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name right now, which is terrible. But I sat next to the woman who wrote, see, this is going to show the fact that I don't watch TV. It's the show about the single mom that became the cleaner and got out of a really abusive relationship.
Oh my God. I mean, there's a few people that would come to mind.
This is terrible that I can't remember her name, but I had no idea I was sitting next to her.
Oh, it's all right. I popped this question on you. I don't expect you to know.
But she was like, I was like, oh my gosh. And it was such a moving production for me as someone who got out of an abusive relationship, who has had to fight for their kid in court and their kid's rights, right? And so I just sat there and was dumbfounded that I was sitting next to this person on the plane, right? I've sat next to some pretty incredible individuals in our system who have served, who are part of our Department of Defense. Sitting next to the director of nutrition for USAID was pretty incredible. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, some interesting folks, definitely. Took the train in and out of Ukraine. We haven't talked about that. I was lucky enough to be invited to Ukraine by the Office of the President, and we went last year for an incredible diplomatic event. So interesting folks there and on the train and being with them. But plane rides,
Plane
rides are interesting.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
The coolest one that I've ever done that I can remember is Kool and the Gang. It was me, a couple other people, and the entire Kool and the Gang band. We were flying to Mississippi. They were going to do a show at a casino.
Yeah.
And I was flying there to go to an electronics class.
Totally unrelated.
Totally unrelated. So I just did this with them for like 45 minutes. And it was just a bunch of them. I just started asking questions and stuff, because I can't shut up either. So.
No, but that's a beautiful thing, right? Because you build those relationships and those connections. And I'm still in touch with most of the people that I sit next to on the plane.
Oh, I can't say the same.
Yeah, I am. I really, and they have, different perspectives or things to share and skill sets to offer. And to me, one of the most important things that we can do as humans is continue that networking, because when we cross-pollinate and we're able to actually truly work in a coordinated fashion together, it is so incredible what we can get done.
Oh, for sure.
We are so capable.
Yeah, we've proved it during World War II. We've proved it in other situations too. Like, we are a strong country, but if you're missing the knowledge piece and you're missing the experience piece, then I don't know how much you can participate as you get on with life.
Well, I want to come back to that one piece about you, putting on your BDUs and being a hippie.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about that. So, in terms of education, I have a master's in ed. I started actually a doctoral program in education and then stopped it because I needed to jump in and fully focus on the work for Ukraine. And I couldn't do that and have 3 kids home during COVID with my husband on mandatory overtime.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And do my doctoral program.
That's a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of things I can do. I also know what my limitations are, right? So pause that. But education is the through line for everything for me. And access to education, access to information, access to each other, right? And we have the most expensive state schools here in New Hampshire.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is a criminal issue that we have people here in this state who want to go to our state schools.
Yep.
And they are leaving. It is criminal that we don't have more appropriations coming from the federal government to our state schools to develop electronics, robotics, prosthetics, et cetera, that we don't have funding coming for developing sustainable energy infrastructure.
Fully agree.
Right? Like, those things need to come home, and we need to deal with this nationwide. Right? I'm fully in on that.
I was actually editing a short last night for the channel, and I actually had a clip of me saying what you just said.
Oh, really?
Essentially, like it's
I was
me.
in the forum. I didn't watch it.
I know, but it was me basically saying, as somebody that lives here, like, this is everything to me, right? Like, 12 minutes from UNH campus, right here. We're 12 minutes away.
I met your son earlier.
Yeah, it's literally our crown jewel. Like, we should be so New Hampshire, like, everything should be invested in education,
strong,
health, green energy. But that's how I feel about my state. And I think everybody should feel this way about where they live too. It's not necessarily a competition, but if we're in New Hampshire, when people say like, oh, I went to MIT or I went to RISD or I went to Yale and so on and so on. I mean, I know we have Dartmouth, Hitchcock, but like, why do I not hear people say that about UNH? Yeah. Because we don't invest in it, because we don't send our people to it like we should. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that we fail on because of the property tax issue, and it just sucks.
Well, and because of politics that aren't actually focused on people.
Yes.
Right? That's it. That is like, bottom line. That is it. We have a political system here at the state, and we have a political system federally that is focusing on special interests and not the people. And I have said over and over again, I'm not taking corporate PAC funds. I'm not taking any PAC funds. You all are my special interest, because that's the voice that needs to be heard, right?
Yes.
And that's the foundation of all of this. And it should be a no-brainer.
I like what you stand for. I think I've read your stuff. I've also had the pleasure of listening to you speak at several candidate forums, and I've been in the audience for a lot of things. And I think you and several people in the race have the policies that I'm looking for, that probably a lot of people are looking for. And I just think they're incredible. And I know we didn't touch, sorry,
Don't worry.
I know we haven't touched on everything that I want to, but I also want people to watch the episode. So if I go 3 or 4 hours,
gone long enough.
I know, but I hope that people are going to go and research what you stand for. I know we still have like just under a month for the primary.
Yeah. Can I share something funny
Please.
about research?
Please do.
I was at the forum in Dover. It was a speed dating event in Dover last night. And someone said, your website's down. I couldn't do the research. And I texted my team, again, volunteer team that works on my website, does the design, amazing people that are here because they believe in what I'm doing.
I think the website looks great, by the way.
Gabe, did you hear that?
Yeah. Shout out to Gabe.
Shout out to Gabe. He's incredible. And so Gabe texts me back and goes, yeah, sorry, I meant to text you earlier, but the AI data center that hosts the website has overheated and all the websites are down.
That's the odds, right?
And I found this so ironically humorous when we're having these discussions about AI and data centers, what we're using them for, the security of AI data centers, the environmental issues of data centers, and then that communications piece.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to let everyone know you can also call me at 603-854-7217. It comes
You are daring.
right here.
You are daring.
And I believe that's incredibly important to know that whoever is going to represent us is accessible.
I'm going to put links to your website, to Detalion.
Which is back up.
I won't put your phone number in the description.
It's there.
But I always give everybody the last word when we do this. And I am so grateful that you came all the way down to do this with me. It's such a huge ask because most people would just like send me a Zoom link and stuff like that. But I firmly believe doing this in person, it's very different than watching a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you up front for that. And I want to give you the last word. Anything you want to tell the people, send it.
Well, I want to thank you for this space because I think it's really important for everyone to remember that we all have something to offer in this fight.
True.
Whatever it is, however we can give, whether it's creating communications, being a podcast host, getting messaging out, making phone calls, sending a postcard, talking to your neighbor, having a community gathering that has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with coming together, right? We all have something to offer right now in this fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to know that and remember that. And right now, we have an opportunity to shape the direction of our party. Let's use it.
Well said. Thank you again.
Thank you, Adam.